and welcome to the Tea and the Butty podcast. I'm Dominic.
And I'm Erica.
Today's episode is us reacting to American assumptions about British people and the British way of life.
Right.
Britain.
We put a thing out on Instagram, but we didn't really give you guys enough time to get back to us.
I mean, a story lasts for 24 hours. We put it up on a story. And, and a few of you got back to us, and we're going to give you a shout out.
Yeah.
So, it's just, this is reactions.
But when we do these things, we really need to put it out, like, a few days in advance.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we do.
Yeah. But anyway, a couple of you replied back, and so we're going to give you a shout out, but the rest of them came from, Reddit or Quora or something like that?
Reddit, Quora, and general just, like, blogs. I mean, BuzzFeed, too numerous to mention, really. Because and they're all kind of the same thing, so, they're all the same assumptions and stereotypes and whatever. Well, I think we've done stereotypes before, but this is like an assumption to see if it's still out there, if you still think this. So, one of the major stereotypes, I think, is bad food.
Oh, yeah.
The British have bad food, and I mean, where does that come from? Because, when I first moved here, I had no idea about it.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Well, when you met me, you didn't know about the...
Well, I can't remember if you actually said it to me. Oh, the British people have bad food.
No, I think I must have, because of the whole cornflakes incident.
Well, the cornflake, but it was after that, and we'd been talking for a year or more. No, had we? Yeah, about a year. And you hadn't mentioned anything like that to me before. I mean, I guess because you weren't in Britain and you weren't eating the food, but, I did not know about this,
Yeah.
There was some I knew about, and then there was some that this one.
So there's...
The bad food stereotype, the assumption.
The assumption that most Americans believe to be true, I think, and it's very commonly and widespreadly known that British food is bad. Bad meaning like it tastes bad. It doesn't taste good.
Bland is the word. Yeah, bland.
I've never heard anybody say bland. I've just say it's bad, it's horrible, it's disgusting,
Yeah, I mean, and that's just based on what they've heard about it. Based on what they've heard, like, like stuff basically, like haggis and spotted dick and all that.
I don't even know if it's that. I think it's just perpetuated through generations.
It's perpetuated through generations.
I don't even know if the general American person who is not an Anglophile,
who has never been to Britain,
I don't think they think anything about British food. They've just heard it's bad, it's nasty, and that's as far as it goes,
Yeah.
I don't think that the general American maybe has ever even heard of like haggis or a spotted dick. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
possibly not.
No, it's funny because, as I said, it was like, I thought all food is bad over here, and I thought, it's going to be terrible. I seem to remember having that conversation with you.
Yeah.
And I was just like, what?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's like, you've never heard that? You never knew that? And you were just like, no, but why would I have heard that? Like,
it's not like, I've never heard, like, I never heard even, maybe, because I used to speak to some other Americans online, maybe they said something, and I thought it was just like, and I just didn't really take notice of it, It wasn't enough people to, like, go, oh, wait a minute, you all think this?
Yeah.
It's perpetuated because during, like, people have discussed this, and British people have, so-called experts have come out and said, this is a stereotype that dates back to World War II.
Yeah.
It's like the American GIs came over when Britain was heavy on rationing. There was nothing to eat except offal. And very little to eat anyway. Mm-hmm. Powdered egg, everything was, powdered or whatever. It was just it was terrible food.
Yeah.
And the British people were eating terrible food at that time.
Yeah.
So they just went back and go, because America had not experienced rationing. I don't know. There may have been some rationing somewhere, but not to the extent of what Britain was going through.
Yeah.
they had to make do with whatever they had, you know. So, you know, like, I can imagine the average GI coming in and seeing a Brit eating a meal of sheep's heart on toast.
Mm-hmm.
Is going to be like, oh, God, you know, what are you eating over here? This is terrible.
Yeah.
And then when the war ended, tourism started trickling in. So, you know, the average American guy who could afford to get a ship over to England and travel around, you know, in, say, 1950, when rationing was still going on. It didn't end until 1954.
Yeah.
You know, he's going to the odd restaurant or hotel, and he's eating, I don't know, bacon and eggs, and it's still rationed food. You know, it's still not the best cut of meat. You know, you're not going to get a big, nice joint of chicken breast or anything like that. You're going to get not much.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's crap. It was crap. You know, it was crap.
Yeah.
And it's just like, yeah, and you know, they're just going home going, oh, the food over there, it's crap. It was crap. It was inedible, blah, 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 blah. And, you know, like, that's since been perpetuated.
Yeah.
And there was some New York Times article, I think recently, which seems to keep perpetuating. It's like, oh, until recently, people in England were eating just boiled mutton and mushy peas or something, you know, boiled mutton and boiled potatoes.
Well, yeah, I was going to say...
porridge. That was what it was. Porridge and boiled mutton. And it's just like...
The uncultured, and I know this sounds a bit, I don't know, snooty or something, I guess. But the uncultured and the less cultured, is a better way to say it, I suppose. The less cultured, the less traveled people that are still going to the UK even now.
They're still thinking,
I would still say what they're eating, they're going, ugh, you know, and going back and going, the food
and that's purely
sucks.
That's purely because they've got a negative spin in their heads.
Yeah.
So even if it's the best meal they've, if someone went there with an open mind and thought, this is really good, this is people would be like, nah, I don't like it, I'm not going to eat it. Oh, I'm sick. That's a lot I've heard. Oh, I couldn't eat the food. I couldn't eat so much my first time in England because I was sick. And it's just like, you weren't sick. You were just pretending you were. So you just ate like crackers and stuff like that. That was like, familiar food.
Yeah.
You know.
But the thing that I find really weird is that the food that you would consider to be like British food in quotation marks, you know, it's basically the same kind of things that we eat over here.
It is. It's basically home-style food.
That's not, you know, I mean, I'm not talking about, take out Mexican food, Italian food, Chinese food, Indian food, like discount all of that kind of stuff. We're just talking about roast, potatoes, fish, sandwiches. You know, it's all like very basic stuff. And really, no matter which country you're in, it's boring stuff. It's not really exciting.
It's boring.
There's not really that many ways you can like spice it up or season it up or whatever. It all tastes
like cardboard to me. I've heard that. Oh, it all tasted like cardboard to me. Oh, and it's just like, what? You're used to eating like a lot of spicy food then, I guess.
Yeah.
It's like if you've just dulled your palate with like hottest food, then yeah, anything else.
I will
something
say
that's lightly seasoned is gonna taste like cardboard to anyone.
Yeah,
who's done that. So
I mean, I will say that I did find things to be not that seasoned. Like, I think that maybe in Britain you guys cater to
the older palate,
the lowest denominator, you know, of like taste, you know what I mean? It's like maybe it's got a little bit of salt, but really that's about it, you know? So I can understand that. It's it could use some more flavor, you know?
That's something that like Brits say, you know, it's like, oh yeah, when I've been to America, you know, the flavors are quite loud. You know?
Yeah.
They're loud.
Mm-hmm.
There's like a lot of like, there's bursts of flavor in this. It's like, you know, and it's because they're shoveling salt into it. They're shoveling high fructose corn syrup into it, which brings me to another thing, which is one of our
Instagram
followers.
Yeah.
Yeah. Jasmine Bykirk, she said, my assumption is that the food from the UK is cleaner, healthier, and made with more care.
Yeah. So that's kind of like the opposite end of the food in the UK is bad, you know?
Yeah, it's made, and you know, I'm gonna say yes and no.
I'm gonna say yeah.
I'm gonna say yes and no. There's definitely, you know, if you look at like we've got the Food Standards Agency in Britain, actually bar Scotland, which is Food Standard Scotland, because Scotland has to have different everything. To the UK, then literally the only thing that ties them to the rest of the UK is the fact that they share a land border. You know.
Sorry about. There's a big truck outside.
It's a big truck outside from Scotland.
Coming in, someone. It's a Scottish person coming to get us.
It's a Scottish person coming to get us from the Highlands.
Oh, you wee Sassenach.
You wee Sassenach. The Food Standards Scotland, which is the same thing, Food Standards Agency. There was also the heavy EU regulations.
Right, yeah.
Which covers, like, pretty much, I don't know how many countries are in the EU. You know, there's a lot, though, on mainland Europe. And, of course, it's like, you know, the Germans don't like this in their food, so the French can't have it, and the UK can't have it.
Yeah.
And, you know, now with Brexit, it might be slacking. You know,
yeah.
They might start slacking, and you know,
the British people might demand that it continues to be.
They might demand it, but will they get it? Is the problem? Because now that you know, if they work out a trade deal with the US, we'll be getting Twinkies by the shipload. We're already starting to. I think somebody said recently, that we're already starting to see Hershey come in to the UK.
The thing
where it was kind of like, nah.
The thing that I find really interesting is that the price of food in the UK, and this is like totally off subject here, but the price of food in the UK, when compared to the price of food over here, it's quite a lot cheaper. I'm talking food in the grocery store, and you would not think, I mean, in my mind anyway, I wouldn't think that would be the case because there's not as many preservatives and fake ingredients and stuff like that.
That was the EU again.
That kept the prices low. Down.
Yeah. Again, these people who Brexited didn't really understand that the EU was doing a good, was keeping things the way.
Because the truth is that it costs these grocery stores less money to be able to keep the products on their shelf for as long as they can until they're sold, you know, and not have to continuously be throwing stuff out because it's expired or whatever, you know. It's like, oh, pump as many preservatives in there so it has a longer shelf life, so the better odds to be sold, and we don't have to just, you know, donate it or toss it or whatever, you know.
You know, someone goes, high fructose corn syrup, which is the major thing you find in pretty much everything over here. Soda.
Cheaper than sugar.
It's very, very much cheaper than sugar. Yeah. It's like, you know, if high fructose corn syrup got banned in America would cease to function.
I mean, I think this is getting really political really quickly, but it all boils down to the fact that money is it's the driving force in America, you know.
Gotta make that money, and it's money.
That can be okay, you know. We're a capitalist society, whatever. But really, what it ultimately means is that money is put above people, which is not right.
Yeah.
And why we allow that to happen in this country, I don't know. Why we're willing to sacrifice our own health and well-being, you know, to make a buck. And it's just like, you know, because I think that I don't buy into this idea that Americans are uneducated about all the crap that is in the food that we eat.
No, it's not.
I think we know, but we're willing to just go,
talking about that, you know, Jamie Oliver came over and did that food revolution thing.
Yeah.
And he taught kids how chicken nuggets were made, you know, with just the bones and gristle and everything. And then they pour a load of, like, this in and this pink slime stuff and...
Sorry to interrupt. Jamie Oliver, for anybody who might not know him by his name, was known as the Naked Chef. here in America.
Yeah,
But,
he's a celebrity chef from the UK,
mm-hmm.
and he came over on his food tour, and he was trying to revolutionize Americans.
I think that was the name of his show, wasn't it? Like Food Revolution.
Food Revolution, yeah. And I mean, needless to say, him saying, "Oh no, don't put too much ice cream in there, and try and cut back on this," didn't go down too well.
Yeah.
Because, a lot of people were just like, oh, it's another foreigner lecturing Americans, and, and this. And he's there crying on the show because people they don't get what I'm trying to do. Oh. And it's just like, you're not going to save America from this. They're going to have to do it for themselves.
Yeah,
it's like, that's, in that way anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he showed kids how chicken nuggets were made. And they all kids, and he said, "Now, would you eat that, knowing what's in it?"
Mm-hmm.
And the kids all went, "Yeah."
Yeah.
And he was just like,
"Because he'd done it in other countries."
And he goes, "Because it looks good."
It looks good now that it's finished. It's just
And I'm just like, yeah. And that's the first time that's happened. I've been to countries all around the world and showed them, and the kids all went, "Oh,
and they're all
horrified, and everything." And it's just like, yeah, because it's coated in batter and it looks good.
Yeah.
And it's like, there you go. That's how the media is able to do this kind of stuff, because it looks good,
Yeah. I mean, that being said, that's not to say that there's not food in the UK that is crap, I mean, obviously, there's still some crap over there that it's unhealthy.
Of course. Yes. I mean, Greg's. I mean, if you look at Greg's pasties and everything, they're probably so unhealthy for you, and everything.
All the trans fats and
the trans
oils
fats
and stuff in all the fried food that's consumed in Britain.
Actually, trans fat is banned.
Oh, really?
In the EU.
Oh,
yeah. Hydrogenated oil is banned, so any fat you're getting from that is pure fat.
Yeah.
And that's it's not trans fat. High fructose corn syrup is known as glucose syrup in the EU and the UK, but it's heavily restricted. There's a production quota on it. So it's not banned, but there's very little of it around. Like over here, where they're just producing so much of it that they can afford to charge 79 cents for a soda,
Well, and that's why you don't find Cool Whip in
That's why
in the freezer section.
But if it's a trade deal done with the US, it's like, oh, well, you're going to have to relax all that so we can start sending over Cool Whip. We don't want any of your stuff.
Yeah.
We'll just send you our stuff.
Yeah.
And if you do send us stuff, we'll just make a version and sell it, send it all like we did with the sitcoms.
Oh my gosh. Okay. We'll move off this subject.
But yeah, I don't know if that answered your question or assumption. It's yes and no.
Yeah.
Because I mean, if you're eating something, you don't feel as guilty and don't feel as bad about it. I mean, a couple of vloggers one who's living in the UK right now, she was like, oh yeah, I know I can eat McDonald's over here without thinking, what is it I'm putting into my body?
Yeah.
I'm not putting any really, I mean, it's still bad, but it's not as bad. Let's just say that,
Yeah.
But yes, moving on.
Going hand in hand with the bad food thing is the bad teeth.
Bad
assumption.
Teeth, yeah. Well, with bad food comes bad teeth.
Yeah.
That's another. It's the older generations. When dental work wasn't really a necessity. It was like if you had a toothache, pull it out.
Yeah.
And you ended up getting all your teeth pulled out and then sticking dentures in. My dad said, "Yeah, I knew people in their 30s when I was like 16.
Yeah.
Didn't have the teeth they were born with. Grew themselves."
I wonder if dental work is that much more expensive in the UK, or
it's I think it's free up until you're like 16 or something.
Yeah.
Well, it was anyway when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And then you got to pay for it.
Yeah. So, I mean, it costs a fortune over here.
It's not free on the NHS. Everybody thinks, oh yeah, it's the NHS, but I think it used to be on the NHS, but now it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I'm not too sure about the ins and outs of that, so someone might correct me on that. So
there's definitely a lot of focus in this country on teeth,
Yes, people gotta have perfect straight white teeth.
White, that episode of Friends where he goes and he gets them bleached and they're so white.
They're so white you can't see his face. They're just like, just like, yeah.
Yeah, he's on the couch and he's over
they're
at
very
some
blinding,
girl's house, I think. And
who was it, Ross?
And she turns on a black light. She's like, oh, yeah.
And he opens his teeth and teeth are just like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, that's a big deal. I mean, yeah, have nice teeth, take care of your teeth, all that. But, some of my teeth are crooked. I mean, I don't know if anybody's seen them in photos and stuff. I've got a couple of crooked teeth. They're not all perfectly straight and white and all the same length.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd look like I have dentures in then,
Yeah.
I mean, I've still got most of my teeth, let's just say. I've had a couple pulled.
Yeah.
But, they're not noticeable.
I read an article once written by this British guy who moved to America, and he started, slowly getting work done on his mouth, and he was just, amazed at how much it costs. Because, a lot of people think, oh, well, it's included in your health insurance. It's not included in most people's health insurance. No.
And some people go to Mexico to do it, too.
Yeah.
Well, down here anyway,
Because a lot of the times dental insurance doesn't even cover very much, or you have to pay such a high amount before it'll kick in. You really need
one cleaning and that's it.
I think it's 2 cleanings a month or 2 cleanings a year or whatever. But
yeah.
But anyway, he was writing this article, and he was talking about how surprised he was because they don't really pull teeth over here unless it's just absolutely necessary, or unless someone goes, no, just pull it, because most of the time they want to do a root canal, or they want to do all kinds of different surgeries and all of this kind of stuff. And he was just like, oh, he appreciated it. He liked it. I guess he wanted to hold on to his teeth. But he was just in the UK, they would have just said, oh, we'll just pull it.
Yeah, they did that with me. It's just like, oh, you've got you need a root canal.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, this is a story. My dentist was apparently ripping off the NHS. I've told you this before. He was ripping off the NHS, and he told me, you're going to need a root canal on that. And he apparently pawned me off into another dentist in the same surgery, dental practice, whatever,
Yeah.
And I came back in and I said, he told me that I need a root canal, and he goes, actually, it'd be cheaper to pull it. He said that to me, just pull it out. I mean, it's not going to affect you anyway, it's at the back.
Yeah.
And just pull it out. And I said, okay, then pull it out. And he pulled it out. And then, 2 months later, it came out that he'd been he was just trying to get more money out of me, trying to claim it on the NHS. He wanted me to do a root canal because it'd be more expensive on the invoice to the NHS,
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah.
You just said surgery, talking about that, and it just made me think about the next point that we have, the next assumption that we have from Instagram.
Yeah, oh.
Where our language is different.
Yeah.
Because in Britain, surgery means what we would say doctor's office.
A doctor's surgery, yeah.
And you would say doctor's surgery.
Yeah.
I remember the first time you were like, oh, I have to go to the doctor's surgery. And I was just like...
I got to go down to the surgery. No, I said that just the surgery, because that's what people say. I've got to go down to the surgery.
And I was just like, what? I really could not grasp the concept.
And I remember you going, what? You kind of freaked out. You went, what? What do you mean you need to go to surgery?
Yeah.
I was like, what's the matter? What's happened to you? And I was just like, I'm just going to see the doctor. That's all, I was like, surgery.
Why is it called surgery?
What are you having surgery on?
No,
and I was like, it's called a doctor's surgery. Like a doctor's office is called a doctor's surgery in the UK. It's kind of like the meaning of it's a consultation. Surgery, actual operator, I have to go in for an operation.
That's what you would say in Britain.
To go in for an operation on my head. To have it removed. It's not, I don't have to, I have to go in surgery on my head, But it's no, I have to go in for an operation. They're going to cut my head off and put it back on.
We definitely don't speak the same language a lot of the times. So Spring Breeze to you on Instagram.
Yeah. Not all Brits understand American English. American words that have a different meaning, like fanny pack.
Yeah.
the spring breeze to you. Yeah, so fanny pack, that's...
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a true assumption, yeah. I think, though, it probably goes the other way more often than it goes with Brits not knowing American words.
I don't know. Yeah, I think so, because we get so much of, like, American comedy, and so we've had time to work it out. Whereas over here, it's like British shows are limited to PBS, and they're not on mainstream media, so you don't know, what dosh means, what surgery means, like what kind of connotation to go to the doctor's surgery,
Speaking of fanny pack, I just thought about this the other day because an episode of Golden Girls came on, and I think Rose was saying something about having to, and I would kiss her fanny or something. Yeah, and she was just like, and she just wanted me to kiss her fanny or something like that, and it just popped into my head like that would have a totally different meaning in Britain.
That gets an extra laugh in Britain when it showed, I imagine, that Golden Girls. Because somebody said that to me when we were watching Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And Uncle Phil or something said, "Move that fanny out the way," And it was just like, oh God, I laughed. And, it's because we know what it means over here. It means butt. Yeah. But, it's just like it means something different in the UK. And if you can work out what it means, you get a slice of Erica's lemon meringue pie.
Oh my gosh.
I put that on Twitter the other day.
What was that?
Your lemon meringue pie with the thing, the picture I took.
What the?
I said, if you can guess what it is, you get a slice of it.
Oh my God, you guys. It was such a mess last night. We had just a little tiny, birthday get together for me. And,
everybody was in, boxes, isolated.
And they got me a lemon meringue pie, because that's one of my favorites. And, my mom was serving it up to everybody. And she served it to everyone. Perfectly. It looked all beautiful nice. On their plate, looked delicious. And she gets to me, and she could not get my piece out of the pan for some reason. I don't know. So she puts the top half, which is just the meringue part, on my plate, and we're already laughing. And then she's trying to scoop up the rest of it all in one piece so that at least it's all together. But it's just coming up in pieces, and she's kind of slopping it onto the plate, and we're like, "Happy birthday, Erica." Oh my God, it was a mess, but still tastes the same.
We've got another one to try again with tonight. Looking forward to that.
But yeah, getting back to this point, you were telling me that some of the jokes, when you would watch Friends and stuff, some of the little references, just every once in a while.
Cultural references Cool Whip. Something about, the Cool Whip, Cool Whip, or whatever. They said something.
Yeah, but you were just mentioning, oh gosh, I wish I could remember. You were just mentioning the other day something specific from an episode of Friends. You were like, oh, I never got that until, I moved over here or something. Oh, yeah. You remember?
Yeah, I vaguely remember.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was either.
Now, but yeah.
But yeah, that's definitely a true assumption. I would say it goes more the other direction, though, where Americans don't know what British people are talking about than British people not knowing what Americans are talking about.
We've got a lot of slang words. We've got a lot of words that mean the same thing, several different meanings, but for the same word. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We are running out of time, so we're
running out of time. On this birthday podcast.
We're going to have to probably break this up and do another half. Because you guys, we just run on tangents. You know how we are. We just go off on.
So this is part one.
This will be part one. We'll do part
Americans
2.
Make about Britain.
Sometime in the future. Yeah, but
in the near future. You'll still be alive when we do it. We promise.
Let's end with Unchained Melodies.
Oh yes, Unchained Melodies assumptions. I'm about to make a generalized statement, but I feel like Brits all have a great sense of humor. That's by Unchained Melody on Instagram.
That's a generalized.
Oh, so I don't have a great sense of humor, huh?
No, I'd say that's mostly true. I'm trying to think. There's definitely...
That's mostly true, but you watch any American in Britain on YouTube.
Yeah.
And look at the comments section. from British people getting wound up.
Yeah.
And it's not a joke. I mean, if it is a joke, then good. That's so hilarious. And, they've all banded together to, like, pretend to be salty about this, what's going on.
Yeah.
But honestly, I mean, it's the same thing over here. It's just a sense of humor about everything. Yeah. I mean, I like to think I have a sense of humor about everything. Mm-hmm. Even, like, really, dark stuff, serious stuff. I can see, like, a line of humor in that just to keep it a bit lighthearted,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the sense of humor is definitely different. And I'd say that most of the people that I met had a pretty good sense of humor. But,
yes, yeah.
But, it is a generalized statement.
It's a generalized statement. I mean, there's definitely, like,
there's some
it's dry.
Victor Meldrews out there.
There's Victor Meldrews out there. But, I mean, in that case, that's hilarious to watch, too. People getting mad about trivial things, and getting wound up. Yeah. Like Americans in Britain getting wound up about that, that they're saying... Worcestershire wrong or whatever.
There's a video that Dominic and I saw one time, and we quote it to each other all the time now, where there was like some kind of fender bender, wasn't there, in Britain that happened, and they all pulled over like into a parking lot, and the witness pulled over as well, and the witness happened to be what? He was like he was
a witness, but he wasn't wanted there. They didn't even know. He wasn't even involved.
he just saw what had happened, but he wasn't involved in the crash or
it's
whatever.
It's the Fergus Beeley road rage incident, if you want to go look it up on YouTube.
And he's just so pissed off.
He's so pissed off with just them.
Yeah.
He's just pissed off. He goes, and he's saying terrible things to this family.
Yeah.
And, then he just kind of loses it with this guy. And he tells this guy to put his hands on the car. He's putting everyone under a citizen's arrest for a start. And it's just like...
And he's totally serious, but the video is hilarious.
The video's hilarious because they're laughing at him and they're just going, you need a doctor, mate.
Yeah.
Yeah, so are you.
And they're filming, so they're trying to get him to say again things that he had obviously said before they started filming. Yeah. So they're kind of prompting him, which is not nice, but they're saying, "Oh,
they're not calming him down at all."
No, they're like, "You said you wanted us dead," and he goes, "I do want you dead. I want you dead right now."
No. He goes, "You said you wanted us dead," and he goes, I do want you dead. In fact, I want you dead right now. Yes. And it's just kind of like, it's quite hilarious because of the way he's kind of, because he's a little weedy guy, He was an ex-BBC producer, apparently. And then he tells this guy to put his hands on the car and get ready to die.
Yeah, which in this country would not be that funny because...
It would not be that funny because, but it's like, he wasn't doing anything. You're under citizen's arrest.
No, he was just pissed off.
He goes, you're under a citizen's arrest. You're under a citizen's arrest. And then he points to the woman's 11-year-old son.
In the car.
And I'll tell you what, you are too. It's just like, if this is gold for a sitcom, It's like this guy is writing a sitcom right here,
But, so there you go. That was a British person who didn't have a sense of humor. Although...
Very Basil Fawlty-ish.
Although it does go along with all British people have a sense of humor because the people who were filming found it hilarious.
Yes, and everybody up there, nobody was harmed seriously with it. So, right. If they were, then it wouldn't be funny. He was just raging about a situation that he wasn't involved in to begin with. He just kind of witnessed it. So, yeah, like that woman who walked into Target and smashed all the masks off the thing.
Oh, God,
then apparently the police came to her house and she told them she had Trump's phone number and she was on a secret mission for him or something.
Yeah.
And she was working for Trump. And they were like, okay.
I think we better end there.
We end here.
Yeah.
Thank
you if you sent us in
yes,
assumptions.
Thanks a lot. Thanks.
If you'd like to send us in some more assumptions, just DM those to us and we'll include them in the next video. We have several more assumptions listed down here, but we're not going to get to them because we just ramble on and on.
We rambled on and on and on there. Sorry about that, guys.
We told you about lemon meringue pie. We told you about all kinds of
Fergus
stuff.
Beeley's road rage incident.
That has nothing
which
to
happened
do.
4 years ago or something like that.
Yeah. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your support. As always, if you would like to help support us, the easiest way to do that is to leave us a rating or a review. I think Jasmine left us a rating, actually. I'm not sure if we've given her a shout out
Jasmine,
for that.
you left us a rating. Thank you very much.
Rating, yeah.
Rating.
And review.
Yeah. Rating and review. Yeah, I think it's time to go. But...
Yes. But anyway, you can leave us a rating, a review on iTunes or Apple Podcasts, whatever it's called, and also Spotify and probably the other ones wherever you're listening. But it seems, I think, that most of our listeners do listen on those two apps. So do that for us, help other people find us, and that's the easiest way to show your support. Otherwise, if you don't want to do that, then just keep listening, and that helps us too. So thank you very much, and we will talk to you all next time.
Goodbye.
Bye.